The shrill buzz of my phone pierced the quiet of the early morning, jolting me awake at 5:45 a.m. Groggily, I reached over to silence the notification, expecting the usual barrage of work emails or a message from Alex about the latest cybersecurity threat. Instead, my screen displayed a single message from Evelyn, my wife. "Good morning, check your email when you wake up." Confusion settled in. Evelyn wasn't one for waking up early or sending messages before dawn. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Was she up late working? Or was something else going on? I swung my legs over the side of the bed, feeling the cool floor beneath my feet. As a cybersecurity specialist, I prided myself on my ability to detect anomalies, both in systems and in people. Lately, though, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off between us. The year was 2010, a time when smartphones were becoming more common, but they hadn't yet taken over our lives. Still, Evelyn had upgraded her phone a few months ago, and I noticed she became more protective of it, rarely leaving it unattended. Coupled with her increasing secretiveness since her high school reunion, my suspicions began to gnaw at me. I trudged to the kitchen, trying to shake off the unsettling thoughts. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, a comforting routine we both cherished. I poured myself a cup, watching the dark liquid swirl, mirroring the turmoil inside me. "Morning, sleepyhead," Evelyn greeted as she entered the kitchen, her voice unusually tight. She handed me a mug, her fingers brushing mine for a fleeting second. Her eyes, usually warm and inviting, seemed distant today. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile. "Sleep well?" And she nodded, but there was something in her demeanor that didn't add up. We sat in silence, sipping our coffee, the tension between us palpable. I wanted to ask her about the reunion, about why she was acting so differently, but the words caught in my throat. As I glanced at my phone again, the message from Evelyn lingered in my mind. Why had she sent it so early? And why the smiley face? It felt like a small crack in the facade of our seemingly perfect marriage. Work was a refuge for me, a place where my skills were valued and my mind could focus on something tangible. As a cybersecurity expert, I spent my days safeguarding networks and data, ensuring that information remained secure from prying eyes. It was a job that demanded precision and trust, qualities I believed were essential in any relationship. But lately, the trust I had in Evelyn was waning. Her late-night work sessions, the unexplained absences, and the way she seemed to be hiding something from me, it all added up to a picture I couldn't ignore. I tried to convince myself it was just stress from her reunion, nothing more. Yet deep down, I knew something was amiss. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I found myself unable to sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the past few months. Evelyn and her friends had always been open and social, but now there was an invisible barrier between us. I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Evelyn had nothing to hide, then perhaps I was overreacting, but the nagging doubt in my mind needed to be addressed. With a heavy heart, I reached for my laptop, the one tool that had always been my ally in uncovering hidden truths. As I powered it on, memories of happier times with Evelyn flashed before my eyes. We had met in college, our shared interests in technology and gaming bringing us closer. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair, surrounded by friends and family who loved us. But somewhere along the way, the connection had frayed, leaving me yearning for the closeness we once shared. Determined, I began to dig. I needed to find out what was going on, not just for my peace of mind, but for the sake of our marriage. Little did I know this decision would set off a chain of events that would change both of our lives forever. The room was silent except for the hum of the computer and the distant sounds of the waking neighborhood. I navigated through Evelyn's phone settings, searching for any signs of unusual activity. The more I looked, the more convinced I became that my instincts were right. As the minutes ticked by, I felt a mix of fear and resolve. Whatever I was about to uncover, I needed to face it head-on. The trust I had once taken for granted was now a fragile thread, and I was about to test its limits. In that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. I would uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be, because in the end, understanding was the only way forward. Days turned into weeks, and the initial unease I felt regarding Evelyn's late-night activities only seemed to intensify. Each morning, as the sun peeked through our bedroom curtains, I found myself scanning my phone for any new messages or notifications that might shed light on Evelyn's sudden change in behavior. Her once vibrant and open demeanor had been replaced with a guarded and distant aura, that left me feeling both confused and anxious. It wasn't just the early morning message that raised red flags. Evelyn had started taking longer to get ready for work, often appearing flustered and distracted. There were frequent missed calls from unknown numbers, each one met with vague explanations that left me with more questions than answers. When I asked her about them, she would simply shrug it off, claiming they were work-related or urgent messages she couldn't discuss at the moment. The more I probed, the more elusive she became, retreating into herself and leaving me to grapple with my growing suspicions. One evening, as I was wrapping up a particularly challenging project at work, I decided to take a closer look at Evelyn's online activity. It was a decision that weighed heavily on me, but my professional instincts couldn't ignore the inconsistencies in her behavior. I started by reviewing her browser history, expecting to find something mundane like news articles or online shopping. Instead, I stumbled upon a series of unfamiliar websites, many of which were blocked by our household firewall. Her search terms were cryptic, hinting at personal interests that I had never seen before. Terms like exclusive dating apps, private communication tools, and secure photo sharing caught my eye, each one pointing towards a desire for privacy and secrecy that was unusual for someone as open as Evelyn. My heart pounded as I delved deeper, uncovering encrypted messages and private chats that Evelyn had meticulously hidden. The conversations were sporadic but consistent, filled with references to meeting someone special and keeping their relationship under wraps. There were no explicit details, but the subtext was unmistakable. Evelyn was communicating with someone outside of our marriage, and she was going to great lengths to keep it hidden from me. The weight of this discovery pressed down on me, making it difficult to concentrate on anything else. I found myself staring blankly at my computer screen, the numbers and codes blurring together as my mind raced. How long had this been going on? Why hadn't Evelyn confided in me about her feelings or struggles? The questions spiraled, each one more painful than the last. That night, I tried to muster the courage to confront Evelyn. We sat down for dinner, a ritual that had always been a source of comfort and connection for us, but the usual easy conversation was missing. Instead, there was an uncomfortable silence, punctuated only by the clinking of cutlery and the distant sounds of neighbors going about their evening routines. I glanced at Evelyn, searching her face for any sign of acknowledgement or guilt, but she remained stoic, her eyes fixed on her plate. After dinner, as we cleared the table together, I decided to broach the subject. "Evelyn, is everything okay? You've seemed different lately." She looked up, her expression guarded. "I'm fine, just tired. Work has been overwhelming." I wanted to believe her, but the evidence was piling up and my intuition screamed that something was terribly wrong. "You've been distant since the reunion. Is there something you want to talk about?" Her silence was more telling than any words could be. She sighed, setting down her utensils with a resigned look. "Mark, I appreciate your concern, but there's nothing to worry about. I've just been under a lot of stress lately." I nodded, not fully convinced, but choosing to respect her wishes. For now. The conversation ended with an uneasy truce, leaving me to stew in my doubts and fears. That night, sleep eluded me as I lay in bed, the shadows of my thoughts dancing across the ceiling. The trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship felt fragile, teetering on the edge of collapse. Determined to find clarity, I decided to monitor Evelyn's online activity more closely. As a cybersecurity expert, I had the skills to track and analyze digital footprints, but I grappled with the ethical implications of invading her privacy. The line between professional duty and personal betrayal blurred, leaving me conflicted and uncertain about the path I was about to take. The following days were a delicate balancing act. By day, I maintained my professional facade, interacting with colleagues and managing projects with my usual precision. By night, I meticulously reviewed Evelyn's digital interactions, searching for patterns and clues that might confirm my worst fears. Each discovery added another layer to the complex puzzle of her behavior, making it increasingly difficult to piece together the truth. One morning, as I sifted through another batch of encrypted messages, I found a conversation that sent a chill down my spine. Evelyn was arranging a meeting, using code names and vague references to keep the details hidden from any unintended eyes. The excitement in her words was palpable, hinting at a passion that had long been absent from our marriage. It was more than just an affair. It was a rebellion against the life we had built together, a search for something that I had failed to provide. The realization hit me hard. Evelyn was not just distant. She was actively seeking solace and connection elsewhere. The betrayal stung, cutting deeper than I had ever imagined. But amid the pain and anger, a part of me felt a twisted sense of relief. Finally, there was undeniable proof that my suspicions were not unfounded. The evidence laid bare the facade of our marriage, exposing the cracks that had been widening over time. As I continued to gather more information, my perspective began to shift. What had started as a quest for truth now felt like an obsession, consuming my thoughts and actions. I found myself withdrawing from friends and family, unable to share the burden of my discovery. The weight of knowing what Evelyn was doing pressed heavily on me, making it difficult to function in any other capacity. One evening, after another long day of piecing together the fragments of Evelyn's secret life, I met with my friend Lily. She had always been a pillar of support, someone I could confide in without fear of judgment. As we sat in our favorite cafe sipping on herbal tea, I hesitated before finally opening up about my fears and the evidence I had uncovered. "Lily, I think Evelyn is cheating on me," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. She reached out, placing a comforting hand on mine. "Have you talked to her about it?" I shook my head. "I found messages and logs that prove she's seeing someone else, but confronting her feels like it might destroy everything." Lily looked concerned but understanding. "Mark, you need to handle this carefully. Maybe seek professional advice or find a way to approach her without escalating things." Her words resonated with me, but the frustration and hurt I felt made it hard to see a clear path forward. I wanted answers, closure, and perhaps a way to salvage our marriage. But the evidence was undeniable. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that things might never go back to how they were. As weeks turned into months, the tension at home grew unbearable. Evelyn's secret meetings became more frequent, and her explanations more convoluted. I tried to maintain normalcy, forcing myself to engage in the activities we once enjoyed together. But the distance between us was palpable. Every glance, every touch felt strained, as if we were two strangers trying to navigate a relationship that had lost its foundation. One particularly chilly evening, I returned home earlier than usual, hoping to catch Evelyn in a moment of vulnerability. The house was eerily quiet, the soft glow of the living room lamp casting long shadows across the floor. I found her in the study, hunched over her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard with a frenetic energy that seemed out of place for someone who was supposedly finishing up work. "Hey," I said, attempting to keep my voice steady. "How's everything going?" She looked up, her eyes meeting mine with a mixture of surprise and apprehension. "Oh, Mark, I wasn't expecting you to be home so early." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about how distant we've become. I just want to understand what's going on." Her silence was deafening, and for a moment I feared that she might have a response that could explain away everything. But instead, she closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair, her expression guarded. "I don't know what you're talking about," I pressed on, unable to contain the flood of emotions any longer. "Evelyn, I have evidence that you're seeing someone else. The messages, the meetings, it's all there. Please, talk to me." Tears welled up in her eyes, and for the first time in months I saw a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with. "Mark, I never wanted it to be this way. I was confused and scared, and I didn't know how to tell you." Her words cut through me, a bittersweet admission of the pain and confusion that had driven her to seek solace outside our marriage. I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak, knowing that the truth was out, but also mourning the loss of what we once had. As we sat there, the weight of our situation pressing down on us, I realized that our relationship had reached a tipping point. The trust that had been eroded by secrets and lies was beyond repair, and the path forward was unclear. All I could do was face the reality of our situation and decide how to move forward from here. The days following my conversation with Evelyn were a blur of restless nights and anxious days. Each morning, I woke with a knot in my stomach, the evidence of her infidelity weighing heavily on my mind. Despite our conversation, Evelyn remained distant, her attempts to bridge the gap superficial at best. I found myself oscillating between confronting her again and burying my doubts deep within, hoping they would dissolve on their own. Work became both a sanctuary and a source of frustration. I threw myself into my projects, trying to distract myself from the turmoil at home, but my thoughts always circled back to Evelyn. Her secretive behavior, the hidden messages, and the undeniable signs of betrayal gnawed at me relentlessly. I knew I couldn't continue like this, not without addressing the elephant in the room. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, I sat down with Lily, my closest friend and confidant. Her presence had always been a source of comfort, someone I could lean on without fear of judgment. We met at our usual spot, a quiet cafe tucked away in a corner of the city, where the hum of conversation provided a soothing backdrop to our discussions. "Lily, I don't know what to do," I confessed, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. "I have all this evidence, but confronting Evelyn hasn't brought any clarity. If anything, it's just made things worse." She listened intently, her eyes reflecting a mix of concern and understanding. "Mark, you've already done so much to uncover the truth. Maybe it's time to consider what you want moving forward. Do you want to try to fix this, or do you feel it's beyond repair?" Her question hit me harder than I anticipated. Part of me desperately wanted to salvage our marriage, to find a way back to the closeness we once shared. But another part of me was consumed by anger and the need for vindication. The balance between trust and betrayal had tipped irrevocably, and I struggled to find where I stood. "I want to believe we can fix this," I admitted, my voice tinged with vulnerability. "But seeing all this, it hurts. I don't know if I can trust her again." Lily reached out, placing a reassuring hand on mine. "It's important to take care of yourself, Mark. Whether you decide to fight for your marriage or let it go, make sure you're doing what's best for you. Sometimes seeking professional help can provide the clarity you need." Her words resonated with me, planting a seed of consideration that I couldn't ignore. Seeking professional advice had never been something I prioritized, but perhaps it was time to explore that avenue. The idea of confronting Evelyn with more evidence, of digging deeper into her secrets, felt both tempting and perilous. I feared it could push her further away or escalate the situation beyond repair. As I left the cafe, the cool evening air did little to calm my racing thoughts. I pondered the ethical implications of my next steps. Evelyn trusted me implicitly, or at least she thought she did. The thought of violating her privacy, even for the sake of the truth, weighed heavily on my conscience. Yet the relentless doubt and the undeniable signs of her betrayal left me feeling cornered, with no clear path forward. That night, unable to sleep, I sat at my desk, staring blankly at the screen of my laptop. The flickering light seemed to mock my indecision, highlighting the chasm that had formed between us. I knew I needed to take action, but the nature of that action remained unclear. The desire for answers clashed with the fear of causing irreparable harm, leaving me paralyzed in a state of uncertainty. In the quiet hours of the night, as the world around me slumbered, I made a decision. If Evelyn had nothing to hide, then perhaps I was overreacting. But the growing pile of evidence suggested otherwise. I couldn't ignore the signs any longer. With a deep breath, I began to explore ways to discreetly monitor her activities, leveraging my expertise in cybersecurity to uncover the truth once and for all. The ethical lines blurred as I delved deeper into Evelyn's digital life. Every click, every message, every interaction was a piece of the puzzle I was determined to solve. But with each step I took, I felt a part of myself slipping away, replaced by a relentless pursuit of justice, or perhaps revenge. As dawn approached, casting a pale light through my window, I realized there was no turning back. The path I had chosen was fraught with moral dilemmas and emotional turmoil, but it was one I felt compelled to follow. The trust that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship was shattered, and I was left to navigate the aftermath of betrayal with nothing but my skills and a desperate need for the truth. The following weeks blurred into a relentless cycle of suspicion and sleepless nights. Each day, I balanced the facade of a composed professional with the chaos swirling inside me. Evelyn's absence from our conversations and her increased secrecy gnawed at my sanity, pushing me further into a maze of doubt and despair. One particularly cold Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The house was quiet, the stillness almost oppressive. I brewed a fresh pot of coffee, the rich aroma providing a small measure of comfort. Sitting at the kitchen table, I stared blankly into my mug, contemplating the next steps in this unraveling nightmare. My mind kept returning to the late-night messages I had discovered in Evelyn's browser history. They were cryptic, coded in a way that suggested a deliberate attempt to hide their true meaning. My professional instincts told me there was more to these interactions than mere casual conversations. Determined to uncover the full extent of Evelyn's activities, I decided to take a more invasive approach. Back in my home office, I began setting up the screen recording program I had jokingly mentioned to Lily months ago. It was a sophisticated tool, one that could capture every keystroke, every mouse movement, and every screen interaction without Evelyn's knowledge. My heart pounded as I navigated the installation process, each step feeling like a betrayal of the trust we once shared. Once the program was securely in place, I felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. The next few days would be crucial in determining the truth behind Evelyn's sudden change in behavior. I tried to keep myself busy with work, but the constant worry about what I might discover kept me on edge. Every notification on my phone felt like a potential clue, every sound in the house a possible sign of deception. Late one evening, as the sky darkened and the city lights began to twinkle outside my window, I decided it was time to check the recordings. My hands trembled as I opened the program, the interface stark and unyielding. There was no turning back now. The first video played automatically, capturing Evelyn's phone screen as she navigated through various apps. I watched intently, heart sinking as I saw her opening a messaging app that neither of us had used before. The conversation was with someone named Eli, a name that rang a bell but refused to surface in my memory. They exchanged messages filled with affectionate emojis and inside jokes that felt all too familiar. As I continued to watch, the interactions became more intimate. Evelyn and Eli were planning secret meetings, discussing places they wanted to visit, and sharing personal details that should have been reserved for our marriage. The evidence was irrefutable. Evelyn was not just emotionally distant. She was actively involved in a relationship outside of our marriage. In one video, she was on him, but it didn't stop there. The program had also captured Evelyn's activities on social media. I saw her liking and commenting on posts that referenced Eli, even going so far as to share photos that we had taken together on past vacations, now recontextualized in a different light. The screen recordings revealed a side of Evelyn that I had never seen before, vibrant, carefree, and deeply entangled in this new relationship. One particular video stood out. Evelyn was on a video call with Eli, both of them laughing and sharing stories late into the night. The ease and comfort between them were palpable, a stark contrast to the growing tension between Evelyn and me. I felt a pang of jealousy and betrayal, mixed with a desperate need for answers. Determined to gather more evidence, I continued to monitor Evelyn's activities. Each recording peeled back another layer of deception, revealing the extent of her infidelity. There were screenshots of their conversations, filled with promises of future plans and declarations of love that left no room for doubt. Evelyn wasn't just seeking solace. She was building a future with someone else. The emotional weight of these discoveries was overwhelming. I found myself sinking deeper into a pit of despair, questioning every moment we had shared and every promise we had made. The man I had trusted implicitly was slipping away, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. But amid the pain, a part of me felt a strange sense of clarity. The evidence was concrete, leaving no room for doubt or denial. Evelyn's actions were clear, and with this knowledge came a twisted sense of empowerment. If she was going to betray me, I needed to confront her with the undeniable truth, regardless of the consequences. One night, after hours of reviewing the recordings, I decided it was time to act. The decision wasn't easy, but the need for closure outweighed any lingering hope of salvaging our marriage. I knew that confronting Evelyn would shatter the remnants of trust we had left, but living in uncertainty was a far worse fate. I sent Evelyn a message asking her to meet me at our favorite cafe the next day. My heart raced as I awaited her response, each passing minute stretching into an eternity. When she finally agreed, I felt a mixture of relief and anxiety wash over me. The time for secrets was over. The following afternoon, I arrived at the cafe early, choosing a secluded table in the back to ensure privacy. Evelyn walked in a few minutes later, her expression unreadable. We exchanged polite greetings, and I could sense the tension building between us. Taking a deep breath, I decided to get straight to the point. "Evelyn, we need to talk," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. She nodded, her eyes meeting mine with a hint of apprehension. "I know, there's been a lot of tension between us lately." I reached into my bag and pulled out my laptop, opening the screen to reveal the evidence I had painstakingly gathered. Evelyn's eyes widened as she took in the screen recordings, the messages, and the photos. Her face drained of color and she looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "Is this true?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She remained silent for a moment, and then her voice trembled as she finally spoke. "Mark, I can explain." But there was nothing left to explain. The truth was laid bare, and there was no hiding behind excuses or denials. Evelyn's infidelity was as clear as day, and the weight of betrayal pressed heavily on both of us. As the reality of the situation settled in, I felt a mixture of anger, hurt, and sadness. The person I had shared my life with, my confidant and partner, had been living a double life right under my nose. The screen recordings had captured every moment of her deceit, leaving no room for forgiveness or understanding. Evelyn looked up, tears welling in her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mark. I was confused and scared, and I didn't know how to tell you." Her admission cut deep, but it also provided a semblance of closure. The reasons behind her actions were tangled in a web of emotions and unspoken frustrations that had festered over time. Yet, the damage was done, and there was no going back to the way things were. As we sat in the cafe, the weight of our fractured relationship pressing down on us, I realized that the path forward was irrevocably changed. The trust we had built over the years was shattered, and the future of our marriage was uncertain at best. Leaving the cafe, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. The truth had been uncovered, and with it came the difficult decisions that lay ahead. The journey of uncovering Evelyn's deception had taken me to a place of emotional reckoning, forcing me to confront not only her betrayal, but also the fragility of the trust we had once taken for granted. As I walked through the bustling streets, the city seemed indifferent to the turmoil raging within me. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows that mirrored the darkness that had enveloped our relationship. The evidence was undeniable, and the time had come to decide how to navigate the aftermath of Evelyn's infidelity. In that moment, I made a silent vow to myself. No matter how painful the path forward might be, I would face it head-on, seeking the closure and peace that had long eluded me. The journey of uncovering the truth was only the beginning, and the road to healing and justice lay ahead. The days following Evelyn's confession were a haze of emotions: betrayal, anger, and a deep-seated need for justice. Sitting alone in my home office, I stared blankly at the screen, the weight of our shattered marriage pressing down on me. The evidence was undeniable, and the pain of her betrayal left me searching for a way to reclaim some semblance of control over the situation. I couldn't shake the feeling that Evelyn's actions deserved more than just private closure. The secrecy and deception had eroded not only our trust, but also my peace of mind. I wanted the world to see the truth, to understand the depths of her betrayal. But how? The thought of confronting her publicly seemed both necessary and terrifying. That evening, I reached out to Lily, knowing she would understand the turmoil I was experiencing. We met at our favorite cafe, the place where countless conversations had provided solace in the past. Lily listened patiently as I poured out my frustrations and the overwhelming desire to expose Evelyn's infidelity. "Mark, I get why you feel this way," Lily said, her voice gentle yet firm. "But you need to think about the consequences. Publicly shaming Evelyn could have serious repercussions for both of you." I nodded, the reality of her words sinking in. She was right. Revenge wasn't a path without obstacles. Yet, the urge to ensure that Evelyn faced the repercussions of her actions was too strong to ignore. I needed a way to do this that was calculated and wouldn't spiral out of control. "Maybe there's a way to present the evidence without going too far," I suggested, the gears in my mind turning rapidly. "Something that holds her accountable, but doesn't completely destroy her life." Lily pondered for a moment before replying. "Have you considered creating a secure website? You could compile all the evidence there, screenshots, videos, chat logs, and share the link with trusted friends and family. It would be a controlled way to expose her actions without making it go viral or attracting unwanted attention." The idea resonated with me. A website would allow me to present the evidence in an organized and undeniable manner. It would be a digital dossier of Evelyn's betrayal, accessible to those who needed to see the truth. But there were challenges: ensuring the website remained secure, protecting my identity, and avoiding legal pitfalls. Over the next few nights, I immersed myself in planning. Using my expertise in cybersecurity, I began designing the website, focusing on simplicity and clarity. Each piece of evidence was meticulously categorized and presented with accompanying explanations to provide context. The goal was to leave no room for doubt, to ensure that anyone who visited the site could see the extent of Evelyn's deception. I opted for a minimalistic design, avoiding flashy elements that could distract from the evidence itself. The homepage featured a brief introduction, outlining the purpose of the site and emphasizing the importance of honesty and integrity in relationships. From there, visitors could navigate through different sections: messages, photos, videos, all chronologically organized to tell the story of Evelyn's infidelity. Security was paramount. I implemented encryption protocols to protect my own data and anonymized the website to prevent any traces leading back to me. I didn't want Evelyn or anyone else to trace the site back to me, especially if things went sideways. The last thing I needed was legal trouble or further emotional strain. As the website took shape, I felt a sense of empowerment mingled with apprehension. This was a calculated move, a way to ensure Evelyn couldn't continue living a double life without facing the consequences. But the more I worked on it, the more I questioned whether this was the right path. Was I seeking justice, or was I letting revenge consume me? The decision weighed heavily on me, but I knew that hesitation could lead to a prolonged period of uncertainty and resentment. If Evelyn couldn't be trusted, then perhaps exposing her actions was the only way to move forward. It wasn't just about punishing her, it was about reclaiming my sense of self and the trust that had been irrevocably broken. With the website nearly complete, I took a step back to evaluate the situation. The evidence was solid, the presentation was clear, and the security measures were in place. The final piece was deciding how to share it. I couldn't bring myself to distribute it recklessly. It needed to be done thoughtfully, ensuring that those who needed to see the truth would have access without causing unnecessary chaos. After much deliberation, I decided to share the website link privately with a select group of trusted individuals, close friends, family members, and a few of Evelyn's acquaintances who I knew would understand the gravity of the situation. It was a way to inform them without turning it into a public spectacle. The idea was to hold Evelyn accountable within our immediate circle, ensuring that her actions were recognized and addressed without escalating into a widespread scandal. Before finalizing everything, I took a moment to reflect on the ethical implications of my actions. I was venturing into murky waters, balancing the need for truth against the potential for unintended harm. But the constant strain of living with uncertainty had taken its toll, and the clarity of exposing the truth felt like the only way to find closure. As I sent the final touches to the website, I felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. The plan was set, and the next steps were crucial. I knew that once I initiated this course of action, there was no turning back. The path I had chosen was fraught with emotional challenges, but it was a step towards reclaiming my life from the shadows of Evelyn's deception. With everything in place, I prepared myself for the fallout. The weight of what I was about to do pressed heavily on my shoulders, but I also felt a sense of determination. This was my chance to confront the betrayal head-on, to ensure that Evelyn couldn't continue living a lie without facing the consequences. It was a gamble, but one I felt compelled to take for the sake of my own peace and integrity. With the website meticulously crafted and the evidence securely compiled, I felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with trepidation. The plan was set, but executing it required a delicate balance of precision and restraint. I knew that once the website went live, there would be no turning back. Every decision from this point forward would shape the outcome of not just my marriage, but the lives of everyone involved. That Friday evening, I sat alone in my home office, the soft glow of the computer screen illuminating the room. The air was thick with anticipation as I reviewed the final details of the website. Each piece of evidence was presented clearly, with timestamps and contextual explanations to ensure there was no room for misunderstanding. I had double-checked everything. Security measures were in place, the site was anonymized, and I had prepared a list of trusted contacts to receive the link privately. Taking a deep breath, I initiated the upload process. The files transferred smoothly, each one a testament to Evelyn's deception. As the last video rendered and the final screenshot uploaded, I leaned back in my chair, the reality of what I was about to do settling in. This was more than just exposing an affair. It was about reclaiming my dignity and ensuring that Evelyn could no longer hide behind lies and secrecy. Before proceeding, I took a moment to reach out to Lily once more. We met at our usual cafe, the place where our conversations had provided solace and clarity. I shared my final thoughts and hesitations, seeking her perspective one last time before making the move. "Lily, I'm ready," I said, my voice steady but my hands betraying a slight tremor. "I think it's time to let everyone see the truth." She nodded, her eyes filled with empathy. "Just remember why you're doing this, Mark. Stay strong and stick to your plan." Her words reinforced my resolve. I knew that exposing Evelyn publicly could lead to unforeseen consequences, but the need for justice and closure outweighed my fears. It was time to move from silent suffering to taking decisive action. Back at home, I finalized the website, ensuring every detail was perfect. The homepage succinctly outlined the situation, guiding visitors through the evidence without sensationalism. I meticulously categorized each section: messages, photos, videos, allowing anyone who accessed the site to follow the timeline of Evelyn's betrayal. The next step was distribution. I compiled a list of trusted friends and family members, people who had been closest to us and deserved to know the truth. I sent personalized emails, explaining the situation briefly and providing the secure link to the website. I chose not to disclose my involvement directly, maintaining anonymity to protect myself from potential backlash or legal repercussions. As the hours passed, notifications began to trickle in. Emails were opened, links were clicked, and the evidence was consumed by those who needed to see it. The initial shock and disbelief were palpable, but as the details unfolded, the reality of Evelyn's actions became undeniable. Within minutes, the website had garnered significant attention from our close-knit circle. Messages of support and condemnation flowed in, each one reinforcing the gravity of the situation. Friends reached out with questions, seeking clarity and understanding, while family members expressed their hurt and disappointment. It was a whirlwind of emotions, each one amplifying the impact of the exposure. I watched as the view counter climbed, each visit a step closer to the public revelation of Evelyn's infidelity. The anticipation was almost unbearable, knowing that with every click, the facade of our marriage was being stripped away. Yet, amidst the chaos, a part of me felt a sense of relief. The truth was no longer hidden, and the burden of secrecy was finally lifted. However, the exposure was not without its challenges. As the day progressed, I began to receive backlash from unexpected quarters. Some of Evelyn's friends and colleagues felt blindsided by the revelation, questioning my motives and the ethics of my actions. Accusations of invasion of privacy and defamation surfaced, complicating the situation further. I had anticipated some level of fallout, but the extent of the reaction was more intense than I had imagined. Despite the criticism, the overwhelming response from those who had been directly affected by Evelyn's actions was affirming. They appreciated the transparency and the courage it took to expose the truth. It was clear that my actions had sparked a necessary conversation about trust, honesty, and the consequences of deceit in relationships. As the sun set, casting long shadows across my home office, I reflected on the day's events. The decision to expose Evelyn publicly had unleashed a torrent of emotions and reactions, but it had also provided a pathway to closure. The truth was out, and with it came the potential for healing and justice, albeit through unconventional means. Yet, as the night deepened, I couldn't help but wonder about the long-term implications of my actions. The line between seeking justice and exacting revenge had blurred, leaving me to navigate the murky waters of moral ambiguity. The satisfaction of unveiling the truth was tempered by the realization that the aftermath would extend far beyond what I had initially anticipated. With the website now a catalyst for change, I braced myself for the next phase of this tumultuous journey. The exposure was just the beginning, and the path to resolution was fraught with emotional and ethical challenges. But one thing was certain: there was no going back, and the consequences of today would reverberate through our lives in ways I had yet to fully comprehend. The aftermath of exposing Evelyn's infidelity was a whirlwind of emotions and consequences that none of us had fully anticipated. As the notifications from the website continued to pour in, I found myself grappling with the reality of what I had done. The weight of my actions pressed heavily on my shoulders, but there was no turning back now. The truth was out, and there was no hiding from it. That evening, I returned home earlier than usual, hoping to find some semblance of peace amidst the chaos. The house felt different, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. Evelyn was in the living room, her eyes red from crying, her posture defeated. The sight of her shattered state only intensified the pain I felt inside. "Mark," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "we need to talk." I nodded, taking a seat opposite her. The silence between us was deafening, filled with the remnants of our broken trust and the shattered pieces of our once happy marriage. "I saw the website," I began, my voice steady but heavy with emotion. "I know everything now." Her eyes met mine, a mix of shame and desperation swirling within them. "I never wanted it to come to this," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I was confused and scared, and I didn't know how to tell you." The room seemed to close in around us, the walls echoing with the weight of our fractured relationship. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Why, Evelyn? Why did you feel like you had to hide it from me?" She looked down, her fingers nervously twisting a strand of hair. "I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to hurt you, and I didn't want to lose what we had, but it all just spiraled out of control." Anger bubbled up within me, but beneath it lay a profound sense of hurt and betrayal. "You chose to deceive me instead of being honest," I said, my voice rising slightly. "How long has this been going on?" Evelyn hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Almost a year now. It started after your promotion at work. I felt neglected and lonely, and I made a terrible mistake. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave, washing away any remaining hope of salvaging our marriage. The betrayal was deeper than I had imagined, cutting through the very foundation of our relationship. I struggled to find the right words, the right way to express the pain that now consumed me. "I trusted you, Evelyn," I said softly, my voice breaking. "Everything we built together, our life, our future, was based on that trust. How could you do this to us?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and she reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled away. The damage was irreparable, and I knew there was no going back. "I think we need to consider a divorce," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "This can't continue." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I'm so sorry, Mark. I never wanted to hurt you." The conversation that followed was a blur of emotions. Anger, sadness, regret, but also a sense of relief that the truth was finally out. We discussed the logistics of the divorce, the division of our assets, and the difficult conversations we would have to have with our friends and family. It was a painful process, but necessary to move forward. In the days that followed, the fallout from the website continued to ripple through our lives. Friends and family reached out with a mix of support and judgment, each conversation adding another layer of complexity to an already tangled situation. Some were sympathetic, understanding the pain and betrayal I was enduring, while others were critical, questioning my methods and the ethics of my actions. Evelyn's reputation took a significant hit as well. Colleagues at her workplace distanced themselves, and mutual friends struggled to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the reality of her actions. It was a harsh reminder of how quickly trust could be shattered, and how deeply our actions could impact not just ourselves, but everyone around us. As the divorce proceedings began, the legal process was both draining and liberating. It was a final step in officially severing the ties that had bound us together, even as they had been broken. The court hearings were a somber affair, each session a stark reminder of the end of our marriage and the life we had once envisioned together. Throughout this period, I found solace in my work and in the support of Lily, who remained a steadfast friend through every twist and turn. Her presence provided a much-needed anchor, helping me navigate the emotional turmoil and the practical challenges that came with the unraveling of my marriage. One evening, after a particularly long day in court, Lily and I sat together at our favorite cafe, the familiar surroundings offering a semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. I looked across the table at her, grateful for her unwavering support. "I still can't believe it's over," I confessed, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. "I thought we had so much, and now it's all gone." She reached out, placing a comforting hand on mine. "It's going to hurt now, but in time things will get better. You deserve peace and happiness, Mark. Don't let this define you." Her words resonated deeply, providing a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. I knew that healing would take time, but with the truth finally out and the path to closure laid before me, I began to envision a future beyond the pain and betrayal. As the weeks turned into months, the initial shock of the divorce faded, replaced by a slow and steady process of rebuilding my life. I immersed myself in work, throwing my energy into projects that demanded my full attention and expertise. It was a way to channel my emotions and regain a sense of control over my life. Evelyn moved out, and our interactions became limited to the necessary legal and logistical discussions. The bitterness that had once defined our conversations gradually gave way to a more neutral, albeit strained, civility. It was a small step towards finding peace, a way to coexist without the constant reminder of what had been lost. Despite the pain, there was a sense of liberation in finally moving forward. The truth had been exposed, and with it came the opportunity to rebuild and redefine my life on my own terms. The journey was far from easy, but each day brought a new chance to heal and to find strength in the face of adversity. As I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a sense of calm settle over me. The past was a chapter closed, the future still unwritten. With the weight of betrayal lifted, I was free to forge a new path, one defined by honesty, trust, and the lessons learned from the pain of deceit. The weeks following the divorce were a tumultuous blend of relief and lingering anguish. As I settled into my new apartment, the space felt both alien and liberating. Each room was a blank slate, a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed my life just months ago. Yet, despite the physical distance from my past, the emotional scars ran deep, a constant reminder of the betrayal I had endured. Evelyn's departure marked the end of an era, but it also signaled the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter. The initial days were the hardest. I grappled with feelings of loneliness and self-doubt, questioning every decision that had led me to this point. But as time marched on, a sense of clarity began to emerge, cutting through the fog of pain and confusion. One evening, as I sat on the balcony watching the sunset, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The hours spent monitoring Evelyn's activities, the painstaking compilation of evidence, and the eventual exposure had been driven by a desperate need for truth and justice. It wasn't just about uncovering her infidelity, it was about reclaiming my sense of self and ensuring that Evelyn faced the consequences of her actions. The website I had created had served its purpose, revealing the depths of Evelyn's deception to those who mattered most. Friends and family had been shocked, some supportive, others judgmental. The reactions were a mixed bag, but overall there was a collective understanding of the pain and betrayal I had experienced. Evelyn's reputation had taken a significant hit, both personally and professionally, and the ripple effects were evident in every interaction. One afternoon, I received a message from one of Evelyn's closest friends, Emma. Her words were carefully chosen, balancing empathy with concern. "Mark, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Evelyn made some poor choices, but I hope you find peace." Her message was a balm to my wounded spirit, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this ordeal. The support from unexpected quarters reinforced the idea that my actions, though drastic, had sparked a necessary conversation about honesty and integrity in relationships. As the months passed, I began to rebuild my life piece by piece. I threw myself into my work, channeling my energy into projects that demanded my full attention. The sense of accomplishment and purpose provided a welcome distraction from the lingering shadows of my past. Yet, despite the progress, there were moments when the weight of what I had done pressed heavily on me. One particularly poignant instance occurred during a team meeting at work. We were discussing a new cybersecurity initiative, and as I presented my ideas, I couldn't help but draw parallels to my own situation. The importance of transparency, trust, and ethical conduct in both personal and professional spheres became a recurring theme, a silent homage to the lessons I had learned the hard way. Outside of work, I found solace in reconnecting with old friends and forging new connections. Social gatherings that once felt strained and uncomfortable became opportunities for genuine interaction and healing. Slowly, the walls I had built around myself began to crumble, allowing me to embrace the possibility of happiness once more. Evelyn's life, on the other hand, seemed to unravel in ways I hadn't fully anticipated. The exposure had not only affected her reputation, but also her personal relationships. Friends who had once stood by her now distanced themselves, unable to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the reality of her actions. Her professional life suffered as well, with colleagues questioning her judgment and integrity. One evening, I received a call from an old acquaintance, Jake. His voice was tinged with frustration and disbelief. "Mark, I saw what you did. Why would you expose Evelyn like that? It was over a year ago. Letting it out like this is just stirring up old wounds." His words stung, a reminder that not everyone understood my motives. While many saw my actions as a justified response to betrayal, others viewed it as an unnecessary act of vengeance. The moral ambiguity of my decision weighed heavily on me, forcing me to confront the fine line between seeking justice and succumbing to revenge. But as time continued to pass, the initial backlash began to subside. People started to see the situation for what it was: a man trying to navigate the painful aftermath of a shattered marriage. The support from those who truly understood my plight outweighed the criticism from those who didn't, reinforcing my belief that exposing the truth had been the right, albeit painful, choice. Meanwhile, Evelyn faced the consequences of her actions in ways that underscored the concept of karma. Her professional standing never fully recovered, and the isolation she experienced served as a harsh lesson in the repercussions of deceit. Friends who had once championed her now questioned her character, and the facade she had carefully maintained crumbled under the weight of reality. One day, I received an unexpected email from Evelyn. The subject line read simply, "Foreclosure." My heart raced as I opened the message, unsure of what to expect. Her words were sincere, a heartfelt apology that acknowledged the pain she had caused. "Mark, I'm truly sorry for everything. I've been reflecting on my actions, and I regret the hurt I've caused you and everyone around us. I hope you can find peace and forgiveness." Reading her apology was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, it provided a sense of closure, validating the pain I had endured. On the other, it underscored the finality of our separation, a stark reminder that our paths had irrevocably diverged. I didn't respond, knowing that our chapter had come to an end, but I appreciated the gesture nonetheless. As the seasons changed, so did I. The initial turmoil gave way to a sense of resilience, a quiet strength born from overcoming adversity. I began to explore new interests and hobbies, rediscovering passions that had been overshadowed by the demands of my career and the complexities of my marriage. Each new experience was a step towards healing, a way to redefine my identity beyond the role of a betrayed husband. One sunny afternoon, I attended a local community event, a gathering focused on mental health and personal growth. The stories shared by others mirrored my own journey, highlighting the universal struggle to find peace in the aftermath of heartbreak. Listening to their experiences reinforced the idea that healing was a collective journey, one that transcended individual pain and connected us all through shared humanity. In the midst of this healing, I found myself reflecting on the concept of karma, the idea that our actions have far-reaching consequences that ultimately return to us in some form. While I had sought to expose Evelyn's deceit, ensuring that she faced the repercussions of her actions, I also recognized the importance of self-forgiveness. Holding on to anger and resentment only prolonged my suffering, preventing me from moving forward. With this realization, I made a conscious effort to let go of the bitterness that had once consumed me. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but a gradual process of releasing the negative emotions that had tethered me to the past. Meditation, therapy, and meaningful conversations with trusted friends like Lily became integral parts of my healing journey, guiding me towards inner peace and acceptance. One evening, as I sat on my balcony once more, the sky painted in twilight hues, I felt a sense of calm settle over me. The pain of betrayal had not vanished, but it had transformed into a quiet strength that propelled me forward. The lessons learned from this ordeal had reshaped my perspective, teaching me the value of honesty, trust, and the importance of facing the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Looking back, I realized that the path I had chosen, though fraught with challenges, had ultimately led me to a place of self-discovery and empowerment. The act of exposing Evelyn's infidelity had not only brought closure to a fractured marriage, but had also ignited a journey of personal growth and resilience. The karma I had sought for Evelyn's actions had come full circle, serving as a catalyst for my own transformation and healing. As the moon rose, casting a silvery glow over the city, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the experiences that had shaped me. The pain had been immense, but so had the lessons learned. With each passing day, I embraced the opportunity to build a life defined by honesty, integrity, and the unwavering pursuit of personal peace. As the months continued to pass, the whirlwind of emotions that had once consumed me began to settle into a calmer, more manageable rhythm. The initial shock and anger had given way to a deeper sense of understanding and acceptance. Sitting on the balcony of my new apartment, I watched the city lights flicker below, each one a reminder of the countless lives intertwining in this vast urban landscape. My journey had been tumultuous, but it had also been transformative. Reflecting on the past year, I realized how far I had come. The decision to expose Evelyn's infidelity had been one of the most difficult choices of my life, fraught with ethical dilemmas and emotional turmoil. Yet it had also been a catalyst for profound personal growth. I had learned the importance of trust, the pain of betrayal, and the resilience required to rebuild a life from the ashes of a shattered relationship. The support from friends like Lily had been invaluable. Her unwavering presence provided a steady anchor as I navigated the choppy waters of divorce and self-discovery. Our conversations had evolved from venting frustrations to planning future endeavors, each discussion reinforcing my commitment to moving forward. I found solace in these connections, realizing that true friendship is a cornerstone of healing. At work, I channeled my energy into new projects, embracing challenges that demanded my full attention and expertise. The satisfaction of solving complex cybersecurity issues became a source of pride and a reminder of my capabilities beyond the confines of my personal struggles. My professional accomplishments began to restore my confidence, reinforcing the belief that I could overcome the setbacks I had faced. One evening, as I walked through a local park, the vibrant colors of autumn leaves swirling around me, I encountered an old acquaintance, Jake. His expression was a mix of curiosity and concern as he approached me. "Mark, it's been a while," he greeted, a hint of hesitation in his voice. "I heard about everything that happened. How are you holding up?" I offered a genuine smile, feeling a sense of closure in our brief interaction. "I'm doing better, thanks. It's been a rough journey, but I'm finding my way." Jake nodded, his eyes reflecting a newfound respect. "I admire how you handled everything. It takes a lot of strength to confront such a situation head-on." His words resonated deeply, serving as a testament to the resilience I had cultivated over the past months. It wasn't just about seeking revenge or exposing Evelyn's actions. It was about reclaiming my life and forging a path towards genuine happiness and fulfillment. As the seasons changed, so did I. Winter brought a sense of introspection, a time to reflect on the lessons learned and the growth achieved. I took up new hobbies, exploring interests that had long been overshadowed by the demands of my career and the complexities of my marriage. From hiking in the nearby trails to attending local workshops on personal development, each new experience enriched my life in ways I had never imagined. One particularly memorable afternoon, I attended a community event focused on mental health and personal growth. Listening to others share their stories of overcoming adversity and finding strength in vulnerability was both inspiring and humbling. It reinforced the idea that healing is a collective journey, one that we undertake not in isolation, but with the support and understanding of those around us. During this time, I also began to explore mindfulness and meditation, practices that helped me cultivate inner peace and resilience. These moments of quiet reflection allowed me to process the pain and betrayal I had endured, transforming it into a source of strength rather than a lingering wound. The teachings I embraced emphasized the importance of letting go, of releasing the past to make room for a brighter, more hopeful future. One evening, as I sat in a quiet corner of my favorite cafe, I struck up a conversation with a woman named Elena. Her warmth and genuine interest in my story created an instant connection, a reminder that new beginnings often come when we least expect them. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with shared experiences and mutual understanding. It was a refreshing change, a step towards opening my heart once more. As time continued its steady march forward, I found myself embracing the concept of karma in a new light. The repercussions of Evelyn's actions had indeed come full circle, serving as a stark reminder of the consequences that follow deceit and betrayal. Yet, it also underscored the importance of integrity and honesty in all aspects of life. The karma I had sought for Evelyn's actions had not only held her accountable, but had also paved the way for my own healing and growth. One crisp autumn evening, I attended a small gathering with friends and family, celebrating the progress we had all made in our personal journeys. As I shared my story, the room filled with supportive nods and encouraging smiles. It was a moment of vulnerability, a testament to the strength that comes from facing the truth and embracing change. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the experiences that had shaped me. The pain of betrayal had been immense, but so had the lessons learned and the resilience cultivated. I realized that while the journey had been fraught with challenges, it had ultimately led me to a place of self-discovery and empowerment. As I looked around the room, surrounded by those who had stood by me through thick and thin, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The path to healing was ongoing, but with each passing day, I grew stronger and more confident in my ability to navigate the complexities of life. The darkness of the past had given way to the light of a new beginning, one defined by honesty, trust, and the unwavering pursuit of personal peace. With the sun setting on another day, casting a golden glow over the horizon, I felt ready to embrace whatever the future held. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had also been deeply rewarding. I had faced my demons, confronted betrayal, and emerged stronger on the other side. The lessons of trust, resilience, and the power of truth would guide me as I continued to build a life defined by integrity and genuine connections. In the end, the story wasn't just about exposing Evelyn's infidelity or seeking revenge. It was about finding the strength to rebuild, to heal, and to move forward with a heart full of hope and a spirit unbroken by the trials it had endured. And as I stepped into the future, I carried with me the wisdom gained from the past, ready to create a life that was truly my own.